Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Women on TikTok are claiming that men are assaulting them by punching them in the head in a series of attacks that have taken place here in New York City.
And multiple women are posting on TikTok saying they were recently punched in the face while walking in New York City. Police say some are actual assaults, others appear to be harassment. Reality star Bethany Frankel commented on one of the TikToks saying, quote, "This is insane because this happened to me a few months ago, but I was embarrassed to say." The video she commented on was from a woman who identifies herself as Michaela Toninato. She says she was punched on Monday. The NYPD does not have a report on Michaela's incident. Let's bring in ABC News' Rena Roy and retired captain of the Maryland Police Department, Sonia Pruitt, for more. Rena, what do we know about these incidents so far?
Well, look, Diane, these incidents have a lot of women talking. They're understandably pretty scared. You know, my TikTok, my group chat, all of it blowing up over these incidents. However, the NYPD is saying that they are not connected. They are stressing that there is no pattern here other than people posting on TikTok. And we've seen several women posting about alleged attacks in recent days, including influencer 23-year-old Hallie Kate McGuckin. She says she was hit in the head by a man walking his dog in Manhattan on Monday, falling to the ground and hurting her head. She was treated at a medical facility and reported the incident to police. The 40-year-old suspect arrested and charged with assault. And separately, 25-year-old Olivia Brand posted that she was punched in the head. The NYPD filing that report as harassment. Olivia was not injured in that incident. And understandably, women around New York are questioning what is going on here. But again, police are telling us that this is not a pattern. Still, of course, always important to be vigilant when walking around the city.
It
Diane.
sure is. And Sonia, let's talk about what that means. What can women do? What can we do to protect ourselves while walking in a big city or anywhere for that matter?
Yeah, you know, I just want to say it's the perception, even though violent crime is down in the United States and probably in New York, women who are being attacked, they don't feel that way. So here's what I'm telling my friends who live in New York. Women are being taken unawares. So you want to make sure that you're alert. Stay off your phones, stay aware of what's happening around you. If possible, walk in groups, walk with another person. And some women may not be making reports to the police because they're embarrassed or they're like, oh, this is something minor. But they really do need to make the reports because we don't know if there are suspects that have been developed by NYPD. They are really kind of short on details. But the more information that they have, the more likely it is that they can stop this crime trend.
All right, Rena Roy, Sonia Pruitt, thank you both.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Now, in this series of alleged incidents that have no connection to each other, a group of white women are claiming that a black man would allegedly walk up to them and allegedly punch them in the head with absolutely no provocation. And in this series of alleged incidents after allegedly being assaulted, these white women would make a claim in viral videos on TikTok that they were allegedly assaulted by a man who they did not know would just walk up to them and allegedly punch them in the head. Now, this group of women includes Bethany Frankel, a celebrity, and the whole series of videos started with a woman named Hallie Kate, who allegedly says that she was walking in Manhattan when a man, Skakobe Stora, a rapper and a man who allegedly ran for mayor and governor of New York, just walked up to her out of nowhere and allegedly punched her in the head. Now, this whole series of unrelated incidents may seem isolated to police, and others are saying it's part of a disturbing trend of violence. But when I take a critical examination of the alleged actions of Jacoby Stora and another man who was arrested for this alleged assault, it just fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And this series of individuals who are looking to just randomly punch people in the head, this is a group of individuals who basically have grown up in a dysfunctional way, and they've grown up in a dysfunctional way because they have never learned about the concept of boundaries, and because they haven't learned about the concept of boundaries, they look to go up in somebody's personal space and they look to assault them. And they look to assault them, I believe, because they act on their impulses. And the main reason I believe that they're acting on their impulses is because these individuals basically, I believe, have had their brain chemistry altered by some sort of drug, because only in the case of an individual who has had their brain chemistry altered by a substance like marijuana or PCP or angel dust, this is what basically makes this person's inhibitions be lowered to the point where they would just randomly act on their impulses and attack a random person. Because usually when a person has discipline and self-control, they understand to keep their hands to themselves, and that's why I cannot say that this is something that is done, again, of a person who isn't on drugs in some cases, because usually most people know that there's a consequence to their actions. But when you have a person who's out here going out and smoking weed, what happens is, again, their inhibitions are lowered, they act on their impulses, and they don't think critically about their consequences. Now, when it comes to these individuals, they are still of a sound mind, and they're of a sound mind because they are knowing what they're doing. And this is a case of an individual who I would say is not mentally ill. No, what we're seeing here is a textbook case of what I call bitch-made behavior. And when it comes to bitch-made behavior, this is because this man has been raised in a dysfunctional fashion and does not understand concepts like boundaries, doesn't understand that you don't violate a person's space. And in a lot of cases, this guy has never really learned the concept of fuck around and find out when you put hands on someone, because usually most men don't put hands on another man or another woman because they know that somebody may have a heater waiting for them or something waiting for them to take them out. But these cowards do this because as they act on their impulses, they're looking to go out here and look to think that they can try to get some sort of power, and they want to get power by attacking an individual with these sucker punches because they don't have the courage to go head to head, because these individuals would know what would be waiting for them. Now, as this series of incidents have been going on, there have been those in the mainstream media who have been trying to polarize this whole narrative by race. And as they've been trying to polarize this narrative by race, what they want to do is say that because these were black men who were arrested in two of these alleged incidents, that this shows that black men are participating in assaults on women. But when I look at this whole situation, I don't really see it as it being a black man issue. No, I see it as being an issue of a man who was raised dysfunctionally, and this man raised dysfunctionally is out here making trouble for almost every other black man in the collective. Because in New York City, which is a part of white supremacist America, when you have these dysfunctional males like this participating in this kind of violence, they don't understand how it impacts the collective, and how it impacts the collective because it oftentimes allows racists to go out here and create narratives that black men are violent, when in actuality, when you look at the whole situation, what we have here are a group of individuals who basically been smoking up. And as they smoke up, what they do is put every black man at risk as they participate in their impulsive behavior. And what is going to sadly happen is we're going to get these narratives that are anti-black pushed as related to these kinds of incidents. And as we get these anti-black narratives pushed about black men, we get people wanting to make black men the face of predation, of violence, as related to the brute narrative that has been pushed in white supremacist America, and want to say that it's just black men participating in these crimes, when in actuality, this is a kind of crime that beta males participate in due to the dysfunctional way that they are raised by single mothers, and two, participate in this behavior because they know that no one will hold them accountable. But what I fear will happen as these incidents continue to go on with these white females is that these white females are going to start triggering many of these beta black men, and this could lead to some innocent black man winding up losing his life in a possible police shooting, or a shooting that is done by one of these New York vigilantes similar to Daniel Penny. So these weed-head beta males are basically playing with fire, and they don't see how they're basically making things worse for all the black men out here as related to the collective. Now, some are trying to speculate that this is a part of the alleged knockout game that is being revived, but I really don't believe that this is about any sort of knockout game, because the whole randomness of these attacks and them not being interconnected shows me that this isn't a game for these perpetrators. No, this is the kind of behavior I've seen in my own South Bronx neighborhood and in Manhattan when it comes to weed heads, because when it comes to a weed head, what happens is these individuals, again, their brain chemistry is altered. What happens is, as they've coming out of these smoke shops, or they're coming out smoking weed, what they do is wind up with their inhibitions lowered, and as their inhibitions are lowered, what they do is act on their impulses, and as they act on their impulses, they go out here and just look to attack whoever they believe they can get power over. But what they don't understand are the power dynamics as related to race here in America. Because when it comes to the Western white woman, when you put hands on the Western white woman as a black man, you basically are playing with fire, because when it comes to putting a hands on the Western white woman, this can lead to a very dangerous situation, and many of these black males who go out here and participate in these actions don't know how dangerous they're making life for men, especially black men here in America, because that what they don't understand is that they're getting ready to make things dangerous for all the brothers as they look to target whoever as related to the claims of these white women. Now, when it comes to these people participating in these random attacks, a lot of them, again, just don't know what they're doing. They're just going out here looking to, again, participate in these attacks because they just act in their feelings, and because they don't really think critically, they wind up putting themselves in a situation as related to endangering all black people. Now, when it comes to this guy, this Sobolski story, this was a guy who says that he was a rapper. He ran for mayor and governor of New York, and shows me that he has no real focus or direction, and shows me that he's got a real serious problem, because he's a textbook example of a man in crisis. Now, Sobolski Stora basically doesn't understand the risks he's taken with black men as a collective, or as related to his own intangibles of manhood, because he basically put his freedom in jeopardy, all because he got in his feelings and looked to attack this woman. Now, as he looked to attack this woman, he is basically put himself in a place where he's going to lose his freedom, because while we've got these bail reform laws and stuff going on, when you put hands on a white woman, we get back to the laws of white supremacy. And with the laws of white supremacy, they look to make an example of a black man who puts hands on women. And what I believe will happen to Sabowski's story and the other black man who allegedly assaulted this woman is going to be him getting arrested and then being put in Rikers Island, then being put out here as the face of black violence and a reason for bail reform laws to be repealed. And as he's in the criminal justice system, they're possibly going to put him in jail with Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. And as he's in jail and possibly will be convicted for this assault, because they're going to make an example out of this dude, he's going to be possibly traded by Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, Taster's Choice coffee, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand grape drink, off-brand blue drink, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand lemon cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, tasty cake cakes, Ritz crackers, Kit Kat candy bars, packets of snack pack pudding, packets of sriracha sauce, packets of soy sauce, packets of salt and pepper, and he will be traded by Bubba, Toddy, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. And as they turn the tight end into a wide receiver, he will be singing a different tune as they spit roast him. And then Mr. Sprinkles will come in and spray the special sauce on all over dudes, front side and backside, and then split the cheeks open to show how the backside looks like the inside of a glazed donut. That's what's going to happen to these guys as they look to make an example of them. And this whole situation with these guys, again, as I've said before, is them playing with fire with these white women. Now, when it comes to these white women, as related to this whole situation, many were speculating that they were basically looking for attention. However, when we look at the injuries they received in the police reports, it basically shows what happens to these women. And what's happening to these women I talked about in my book, The Woman Crisis, because what's happening here is a direct result of the feminism that created the man crisis and the woman crisis, because the feminism that created the man crisis and the woman crisis is basically the thing that has left these women completely defenseless. Now, most of these women didn't know about the impacts of feminism because as their mothers and grandmothers were indoctrinated into it, and as their mothers and grandmothers were indoctrinated into feminism, many of these women thought they were strong and independent and did not need the protection of a man, and thought they could go out here and be by themselves. And what's happening here is a direct result of the 60 years of feminism and the Me Too movement basically alienating men from women because of the allegations made by the women of the Me Too movement that made a legal precedent where men had to keep their distance from women because a simple allegation made by a woman could basically put a man's freedom in jeopardy. And because a man's freedom was put in jeopardy, what happened was men had no incentive to look out for women, and now women are vulnerable to these kinds of predators that are out here as related to these kinds of random assaults. And what's happening is for women is that they are on their own because before the Me Too movement made it where we had legal precedent that basically put a man's freedom in jeopardy. Women enjoyed protection from men, and they enjoyed protection from men because the men in their lives had incentive to protect them because they didn't have to fear being prosecuted as related to just looking at them or having to deal with being arrested for an allegation. And what's happening now to many of these women in New York is they're suffering the consequences of the conviction made against Bill Cosby, which changed the legal precedent as related to law from the standard of rule of law to trust and believe. And because men can't trust women, women are now in a place where they can't get protection because nobody believes that they can be safe from a lawsuit or an arrest. And what's happening now is that these women have no protection from men, and now they are at the tender mercies of the streets, where these predators basically are stalking the streets. And again, when I talk about predators, I'm not just saying black men. No, that's a narrative that the mainstream media wants to push as related to race. But this is where women are. They're in a very dangerous place because of feminists basically making it where the trust and belief standard is in place. And this is the consequence of the trust and belief standard of law. There are no men to protect women as related to God's natural order, and because they have decided to make women strong and independent, they are being attacked by these beta males, which were raised under the feminist system. And it's like things are coming full circle in a very scary way. It's very scary because what's happening here is we're seeing the impact of the feminist man crisis with the beta male who just doesn't know how to function. And because he doesn't know how to function, he's out here acting impulsively, and he's basically turning on women who had nothing to do with feminism but were indoctrinated into feminism. So it's basically like everything is coming full circle, and sadly America is reaping what it sowed, later than what it sowed, greater than what it sowed. And as it reaps what it sows, we have a whole situation that is very disturbing, because we have the dysfunctional beta male acting impulsively, and as he acts impulsively, he's attacking feminist indoctrinated women in these impulsive attacks. And those same women who said that they were independent and did not need a man are now being attacked by these men in crisis, proving the point that the late Charles Stanley said many years ago, that you will reap what you sow, greater than what you sow, later than what you sow. And what we see are the children of the corn reaping what they sowed, later than what they sowed, greater than what they sowed, as America is basically attacking its own. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to males like this participating in their impulsive violence and what makes them motivate to be dysfunctional like this, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Barnes & Noble, Google Play, and you can find it at big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to find out why women wound up in this situation, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com. And in that book, you can learn how women got indoctrinated into feminism and wound up without the protection of a man. And if you want to see me make more videos talking about how situations like this happen, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Isis Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Isis Dark Incubus at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.